Hello and welcome to KSGindia.com. World Energy Outlook Report. Solar output is expected to lead a surge in renewable power supply in the next decade, the International Energy Agency said, with the renewables seen accounting for 80% of growth in global electricity generation under current conditions. In its annual World Energy Outlook on October 13, 2020, the IEA said in its central scenario, which reflects policy intentions and targets already announced, renewables are expected to overtake coal as the primary means of producing electricity by 2025. The combined share of solar photovoltaic (PV) and wind in global generation will rise to almost 30% in 2030 from 8% in 2019, it said, with solar PV capacity growing by an average of 12% a year. Based on today's policy settings, it is on track to set new records for deployment every year after 2022. Maturing technology and support mechanisms have cut financing costs for major solar PV projects, the IEA said, helping to bring down output costs overall. Solar PV is now cheaper than new coal or gas-fired power plants in most countries. Power generation from renewables is the only major source of energy that continued to grow in 2020, the Paris-based agency added. A more ambitious scenario, including for instance the adoption of net zero emissions target by 2050, would see PV electricity generations perform more strongly still, the report said. Despite the increase in solar and wind power, carbon emissions are projected to pick up in 2021 after a 2.4 gigaton drop in 2020 and to exceed 2019 levels in 2027 before growing to 36 GT in 2030. The IEA said gaps remain in many cases between long-term ambitions and specific near-term plans to curb emissions. Integrating new wind and solar power will depend on adequate investment in all parts of the system, including distribution networks, the report added. But revenue shortfalls potentially arising from lower than the expected demand, non-payment of bills, or deteriorating finances of utilities in developing economies could make power grids a weak link. The World Energy Outlook, the IEA's flagship publication, provides a comprehensive view of how the global energy system could develop in the coming decades. This year's exceptional circumstances require an exceptional approach. The usual long-term modeling horizons are kept, but the focus for the World Energy Outlook 2020 is firmly on the next 10 years, exploring in detail the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic on the energy sector and the near-term actions that could accelerate clean energy transitions. Thank you so very much for watching KSGindia.com. Stay tuned for more updated and informative videos.